Giving Tuesday, a holiday of miracles is what you're listening to. Because of the craziness of 2020, we were unable to do our annual radiothon, which we do every year and have here on KLH since 1998. We're trying to take advantage of today being Giving Tuesday. We're shining the big morning show and KLH spotlight on Children's Wisconsin and trying to raise as much money as we can today. They've been on the front lines during 2020, literally and figuratively. And to that end, we're trying to, as we always do, share the stories of what Children's means to our community, what it means to families in our community, what it means to the future of our community. And to that end, we've got the Franco family joining us right now. First of all, thank you so much for joining us. How are you guys today?
We're doing well. Thanks for asking.
Oh, so we're here to talk about that handsome fella there. How you doing, Juan Pablo?
Good.
How old are you?
So cute.
So how old are you?
4.
4. And that's your mom and dad with you, right?
Mm-hmm.
So we're here to talk to them about Children's Hospital. What do you remember about Children's? What do you say about Children's? Do you like the nurses and doctors there?
Yeah.
Yeah. Do they treat you nice when you're there?
Mm-hmm.
Good. Jose, what happened when he was 2 years old? What prompted you guys to take him to Children's?
Well, it all started with that phone call when we got the bad news, and our world kind of turned around us in a matter of seconds. And literally the next day, we're trying to figure out what are we going to do, where are we going to go, who's going to give our son the best treatment. To make a long story short, we decided to stay at Children's Hospital. We figured it'd be local to the family where we're going to need a lot of support. We're a family of 6. We got 3 other kids, so we figured we need to stick close and couldn't be distant. And that's pretty much what prompted us to pick Children's Hospital as the place to care for our son.
Well, let's talk about that phone call that you got, that dreaded phone call that no parent wants to get.
Yeah.
What happened? Was he not feeling well, or what was going on?
It was one of those things where it slowly transpired to what he had, and my wife can probably chime in on this one better than I can. But we were monitoring his blood disorder for a number of months. Going to Children's Hospital to get tested, and they, initially when he got his blood, let's step back. We went to the pediatrician, got his blood work done, and my wife asked, "Hey, can you just do a scan of his iron? We're always curious, see where it's at, because all of our other children have been low in iron." And sure enough, he got an iron test, and we got a call from the doctor, and from there it just went south. One thing turned to the other. Initially, the blood work that was coming out of it showed no signs of leukemia. It just showed something in the bloodstream. And as the months progressed from, say, November, December to January, March came around and got the phone call that it had transpired to AML,
which is
acute myeloid leukemia.
Okay, so.
And the other children that you guys have you ever had any instance where you've had to go to Children's Hospital for anything?
It's funny you say that, because we are a very healthy family, and as a matter of fact, it was time to select our healthcare plan, and I went to the high deductible that year. I said, we never get sick. I did the math. I figured out how many times we go to the doctor and what it's costing us, and we said, hey, let's just switch over to the high deductible.
Doesn't it always end up that way?
Always happens that way.
Oh.
Well, let's talk to Mom here for a second. I want to ask you about Juan Pablo relative to your other children. Was he displaying any sort of there was nothing obvious that he was not feeling well or anything? Or was there a reason why you asked for the iron check, just because of the other kids, or what happened?
Yeah, it was actually his 2-year checkup, and I wanted his iron levels checked. It was actually just one of my other children, my oldest, who had low iron in the past. So I wanted Juan Pablo wasn't eating very well, just very common for 2-year-olds to not want to eat their vegetables. So I wanted that reassurance that his iron was okay. When they did a little poke and his doctor, his pediatrician said, well, yeah, they're a little low. Why don't we do a full blood count? I said, okay, sure. And when the results came back, my husband said, we've had other children. They've always been healthy. They've always had the routine checks. And we've been so fortunate that they haven't even broken a bone. We've never been to an ER with them. So when the doctor called me back with some results, I knew something was wrong in her voice. And she asked me how he was doing. And I said, well, he's fine. He is like a normal kid. She asked me if he has some extra bruising, if he was in pain, if he had just any abnormalities. And the answer was no, he looked normal. It's just his blood showed that he had very, very low platelets. I, not being in the medical field or not even knowing about blood itself, I had a lot of questions. And we were sent right away to the hematology department at Children's. And when we were there, they did extra further blood testing. This extra blood testing showed the same thing that our pediatrician told us, and they wanted to monitor him for the next several months. And that's what we're doing. We're going to Children's Hematology Department at the MACC Fund Center, and really not determining or pinpointing what he had at that time. After so many months and working with them closely, we were just monitoring him. When suddenly in February, like many kids do, they get sick, they get colds. He ended up having strep. I took him to the children's ER. Again, my first time ever walking into children's ER. And he looked very down. He had, they knew his history there. I knew that was the best place for him to go. He was at that moment diagnosed with strep. So I said, okay, we'll treat him with strep. We brought him home. After the 10 days of antibiotics, he did just not recover. He never recovered. He, I should say he was never 100%. He got better, but there was always something. He stopped wanting to eat, didn't want to walk. He would ask for me to hold him. And it spiraled from there. It turned out that he wouldn't want to eat, not even a bite. And I had to give him nutrition through a syringe and with Pediasure. And that's where it got. And my husband and I spent those last few days and up to a week and a half with him in pain overnight. We would take turns and shifts every 2 to 4 hours, waking up with him. The only thing that would soothe him was Tylenol. That was the only thing he could have at that time. And when the Tylenol would wear off, he was in a lot of pain. He could hardly talk. He was only 2. And he would just point in areas in his hip and his legs, and we would rub him. And we knew something was really wrong. So when we spoke to the professionals at hematology and they suggested a bone marrow biopsy, we went right ahead and did that. And it was from one day to the next. It just, on a Monday, we called them. On Tuesday, he had the bone marrow biopsy. On Wednesday, March 13, 2019 is when we got that dreadful call. Your son has acute myeloid leukemia cancer in the blood. So, of course, we were devastated, and we got him in right away on Thursday to admitted in the hospital. And that's when our journey began.
And how long did you have to be in the hospital? Or did Juan Pablo?
Juan Pablo was in the hospital for 9 months on and off. His treatment is one that when you think of a child being in the hospital for months, it seems long, and it is. His treatment consisted of 5 chemotherapy rounds, and each one of them would completely wipe his immunity, which meant that he had to stay in the hospital until his blood will recover a little bit, his immune will recover a little bit, so that he can go home safely. So he was in the hospital each treatment about 4 weeks at a time, and then at home anywhere between 2 and 3 weeks, while having in-clinic visits and a home nurse in between, routinely checking up on him. And then we would come back for continue the treatment.
So totaling over 150 days at the hospital. As a matter of fact, today marks a very special day. Today marks the day where Juan Pablo was released from inpatient a year ago.
Oh,
Well,
that's
congratulations.
Awesome.
And Juan Pablo, I have to ask you, what are the names of your little buddies that you were holding up there? What are their names?
What's their names?
Do we have names?
Do we have names yet?
Are they just your Lego buddies?
Are they workers? Well, Lego workers?
Now you can show them really close. Now they're asking.
Yeah, there we go. Very cool. I noticed you were playing with those. How are you feeling, Juan Pablo? How do you feel today?
Good.
You feel good? Do you still have any pain or anything anywhere?
Yeah.
Oh, you do?
You do?
No.
No, he doesn't.
Is he cancer free?
Yes, thankfully he is cancer free. He was actually in remission after the very first treatment. So
Wow.
coming into Children's and really not knowing much about cancer at all or leukemia, we were thankful that the team that we were given at Children's was incredible. They walked us through almost like holding our hands and also explaining things to us so that we can understand and make the best decision for Juan Pablo. And after his very first chemo treatment, he had a second bone marrow biopsy, and they were able to determine that he had 0 cancer cells. So
how awesome is that? That is great
incredible.
news.
Yeah.
Great news.
That was back in April, and he's been cancer free since then, in remission. But what a lot of people don't understand, that when children are going through cancer, even though they are in remission, they have to continue going through the treatment.
Right.
So it's a difficult road, but we're so thankful for Children's Hospital.
Yeah, it's amazing from going from 67% cancer blood cells to 0% after one treatment, 0.00%.
And I think above and beyond what they do from the medical standpoint, which is a miracle unto itself, is the way. And I think you did you did an awesome job of explaining it. Very eloquent in the way that you explained that they held your hand, they walk you through it, they take care of you. And while they're maybe not literally, but figuratively holding your hand, in the sense that as a parent, you're scared, you're confused, you're upset. There's a part of you that's a little bit angry, like, why my child? Why did this have to happen? And all of that stuff, in addition to the fact that you yourself are confused and scared, and you want the best outcome, and you'd be willing to do anything, whatever it took, to get the best outcome. And fortunately for all of us, Children's is right here in our backyard. Yeah.
Yep, they become
awesome.
your partners, and they understand that not only were you dealing with all of those emotions that Dave just said, but you had 3 other children at home that still needed to be taken care of, and all part of involved in the process, and Children's makes that possible.
Can you guys, if you could just for a moment, talk to the folks out there, the parents out there, grandparents, aunts, uncles, people who have children in their lives, as to why Children's Wisconsin is such an important part of our community?
Words can't explain what the medical staff and staff did for our son. It's like my wife said, they put everything into layman's terms, explaining procedures, what could happen, what will happen. They used us as, we're his advocates. So they used us for informational purposes, such as, how does he look? I mean, we were with him, 23 hours out of the 24. Obviously, they were coming in frequently, checking on him. But at the same time, we all had daily meetings, talked about, the procedures, the medications that he was going to get, if he was feeling blue, because, when you're in the 5th floor of the hot unit, things change in a matter of seconds. When you have no immunity, and we had a couple cases where that occurred. My wife was actually in the room with our son, that things happen really quickly. But getting back to the question, they saved our son's life. We're so grateful for all the expertise that Children's has to offer, and that says it all. They say our son's sitting here with us interviewing,
Right.
where we've seen it go the other way for others.
Yeah. True heroes.
True heroes, no doubt. Are you strong, Juan Pablo? Show me how strong you are.
He's a hero too.
What about the other one?
Let me see the guns. Oh,
Yeah.
The guns are there, man. You are a strong little boy.
Thanks for being so brave, Juan Pablo.
What did he say?
And thank you very much, both of you, Mom and Dad, and Juan Pablo. Thank you for sharing your story. We're hopeful that somebody out there will be inspired enough to donate some money to Children's Wisconsin. I know Juan Pablo can inspire lots of people. I know he can. Well, he's strong enough too. He's strong emotionally and physically with those big guns. Juan Pablo,
Yep.
thank you. Can you tell everybody to give to Children's Hospital, Juan Pablo? Say give money to Children's. You can say it. Say give money to Children's.
Say it.
Give money to it.
No.
Yeah.
Yes. Good
Perfect.
job.
To add something,
Yeah.
you know, spending so many days at Children's Hospital, which felt like forever, it was so very nice to have a facility that focuses on what children need. There is a large group of professionals there. And, the doctors obviously are amazing. The people behind the scenes who are researchers, the hospital staff, and from the nurses to the maintenance people, the facility itself, like I mentioned, the playroom, that makes a world of a difference for little children who can't go outside and play, who don't have their bedroom and their siblings near them. So I would encourage everybody out there to help make the children who are unfortunately, and families who are unfortunately going through a difficult time, to give to a very, very good cause that will help make their journey just a little bit better.
Thank you very much. We really appreciate your time today. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
The Franco family.
Bye.
Bye.
Take care, guys. Thanks
Bye.
again. Bye.
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 Thanks, guys.
Thank you.